Flo Rida or Pitbull?
Pitbull.
That's fair. All right, so we got 50 Cent or Jay-Z?
Yeah.
Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Welcome to the Prince of Fresh Air. I'm, of course, your host, the beloved, the most charismatic man in entertainment. Beat that, Dwayne and Rod Johnson. That's right. I'm coming for you, Hollywood. I'm taking over. But today, it's not about me. Today, I'm interviewing an incredible guest. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with. Very established in his career. You know, the second person I'm going to interview in this field, and I'm going to give you more details right now. So my guest today, you know, he's been in the entertainment industry, music industry for over 10 years, recording artist for over 10 years, beginning as an acoustic reggae singer-songwriter. And now he has evolved into funk and neo soul music. He is guided by the Diamond certified Grammy nominated producer Ronnie King, and has collabed with some amazing talents such as the Chicano rap pioneer DJ Tony H and 5-time Latin Grammy winner Kenny O'Brien. He has graced many major stages across the United States. Some include the Latin Grammy Music Week, world famous Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood, Hard Rock Cafe in Las Vegas, and Montclair Canyon Club with the legendary band Slave. You know, he's taken his music into a different direction, talking about, you know, very important subjects in society, from social society and mental health awareness. And he's using his music not only to collab with amazing artists, but to also bring a great music catalog to you guys as well. So please help me introduce him to the show, Dylan Garcia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Percy.
Absolutely.
The Prince of Fresh Air.
Yes,
I like that, man.
I try, man.
Air, baby. It's free. It's free.
Exactly. It's free. So this is not about me, man. This is about you, and I want to get this conversation underway because there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of things I'm sure people don't know of you. So, no, I mentioned that you've been in the industry for over 10 years, working with, you know, a lot of successful people. But, you know, you don't have to go into, you know, how, you know, the deep days at 5 years old, how you got into music, but how did you get into, you know, music? You know, because, you know, we often hear success stories. We often hear people say their grandmother or their father played music in the house and they picked up their love for music at an early age. Was it the same for you?
It was, man. Back then, my dad had vinyls. There, like back then, it was like cassette tapes and vinyls, and I used to always listen to certain records that my dad had in his record collection, and then also like my dad like listened to Sade. Like Sade's like one of my dad's favorites. You know, like she's such a soulful and beautiful talent, and bands like El Chicano, Santana, and Michael Jackson, Babyface. Got a lot of R&B. My dad listened to a lot of R&B music. I'll Be Sure, listening to that stuff in the 90s. And, you know, I used to joke around like as every kid does that they're singing, and I would sing in front of the neighbors, you know, because it was always a dream. But I played sports growing up. You know, I played baseball, I played popcorn and football. And so like that stuff never fit in the mix because it was just, you know, staying active. And then when I was in 8th grade or 7th grade, I was in chorus class, and I got kicked out of chorus class. They were trying to have me do the lead, like my chorus sheet. Like there was people they were seeing potential in me already. Like when I was like, you know, 12 years old, that I could sing and do stuff. But the 8th graders are like kids that I knew and kids that I played baseball with. So like, you know, when everyone found out they were trying to get me the lead role to play Aladdin in the school musical, bro, I'm already dark already as it is, man. It was just like jokes were coming from every angle, and it was like, I can't do this, you know, my end. So I started messing around in class, being a class clown and not participating, you know what I mean? Trying to live up, oh, you guys can't pick up on me. I could do just like what you guys do. I ended up getting kicked out of the class, man. And like, cause I refused to participate to go on, wanted to go to Disneyland and go sing. I ain't gonna go to Disneyland and go sing in the street parade. And it was just this whole thing. And I was playing sports, so people were already seeing talent at a young age. It was just something I never pursued, and it wasn't until college I bought a guitar. I bought an acoustic guitar, started playing guitar, and that was like my go-to, like to get through college, you know, get through life. You know, I was young, you know, 19, 20, 21 years old. I was going to school, living away by myself, living away from my family, like you do when you go to school. And you know, that guitar. And then I was at the same time I stopped playing sports. Like I played baseball in college for 1 year, but I stopped playing like team sports, and I was really into boogie boarding, believe it or not, like boogie boarding, like with fins and all that, Mike Stewart and all, you know what I mean, like stuff like that. And that when I got really into that, it just came hand in hand to play acoustic guitar. You know, after a surf session, we're hanging out at the beach. I got my acoustic guitar. I'll be jamming some acoustic on the beach, kind of like Jack Johnson or something, you know, like just really, really beachy vibes. It just went all together. And I was doing reggae because, to be honest with you, I only went so far. Like I plateaued in what I could learn on guitar. So all I knew really how to play was reggae music because it was so easy to play. And that's what I did. That's how it led into reggae. And then, I mean, I never thought I was ever going to, I didn't buy a guitar back in college to like try to make it, as it wasn't something that like, this is what I'm going to do, forget school. It wasn't like that. It was just something that accompanied me in life.
Right.
And it wasn't until later on, like in my late 20s, like I started, I was living in San Diego, and a buddy of mine was a rapper, and I saw him perform one time at this rockin' show at the fraternity house. And I'm like, this guy's no smarter than me. I could do this too. And that's what made me want to get into music, was watching my friend do it. And I was writing raps. I was still playing acoustic guitar, you know, but this is like the early 2000s. You got like Nelly, and music was really big back then. There was a lot of money going on with the real estate industry too, because there was a big financial boom with everyone. Interest rates were going low and regulations were getting taken away. And there was just so much money to be made. And I was like, well, shoot, man, I'm going to see if I would write some raps. I'd go find some beats. And back then you had CDs, so I'd write some raps. And I didn't really take it. Nobody took me seriously, you know, but then, nah, you're just a surfer, dude. Like, you know, nah, you got a college degree. How does this fit in, you know, with music? And then fortunately enough, as time went by, I started putting on shows in my hometown, and then, moved away to Newport Beach, and I formed a band. And I was manifesting already before, like when I got the opportunity to move to Orange County, because reggae wasn't big in my hometown at that time. And it's really big now, but back then it was in Orange County in California. It was a really big scene out there. And I moved out there, formed a band, met Ronnie King, like you mentioned, Diamond Certified Ronnie King. And that kind of got what got my feet in the door with music. And full circle, when I first met Ronnie, I mean, we were doing reggae music, and then full circle years later, when me, him, and Tony G worked together, I totally went in a different direction. Like, they showed me what was possible with what I could do with my career as an artist instead of just playing acoustic guitar. And nobody wants to be the guy playing acoustic guitar at the bar or the brewery when you're fighting just to see if people are listening to you. You know, you wrote all these songs and you're playing at the brewery and nobody's even paying attention because they're just drinking and in their own world. Like, I got tired of being background music and I wanted to be up front, man, you know. And some people were, you know, oh, I like it when you played guitar. And I'm like, of course, because I was just that guy at the, like, now I'm like doing something so much bigger and you can't appreciate it. Like, where I kind of evolutionized my career into doing funk and soul music, and, you know, taking back to like how I said that my dad had his record collection. Like, I mean, Sade, those records are what shaped my childhood. That was the music that I fell in love with as a kid. And like now at this point, like I'm creating music that, like, holy shit, this is stuff that like that I would do. You know, like I grew up listening to funk music. My uncle Zapp and Roger, Rick James, like I listened to all that stuff. That was popping at the parties. Everyone was listening to that old school music. And it was just kind of was ingrained in my blood. And I just kind of had to flip it new style, you know, make it relevant, you know, funk and old school, and not necessarily be the guy just performing at lowrider car shows, but like the guy known as a legitimate artist, you know, not just stuck into Chicano scene, or because I'm Latino, or just any kind of in any kind of way at all. Just because I'm not really creating music where I'm just doing funk music, like I'm mixing funk, R&B, soul, and I kind of like spaced it out. And I just finished an album, believe it or not. And these songs that I just did, I got 17 songs that are gonna be on the album, and it really tells a hella good story because the album had a theme to it. It wasn't like I was just slapping some songs together. Like I wanted to tell a story about a certain time in my life, and I got it done. And I mean, if I wouldn't have planted those roots in music, from listening to those records as a kid to buying, you know, playing guitar in college and surfing, you know, that was my foundation. My foundation wasn't based off of like how it is now, because now music is a popularity contest. It's how popular you look on social media. You know, and people will do stupid stuff to look cool on social media, man. And I'm 44 years old. I mean, I get down on my social media, and I think I do put out a lot of really great content, but like, not saying I got to act my age, but I'm just trying to keep it mature, because I'm not trying to really diminish my values of doing anything I can to go viral on social media, you know. And when and I have like a solid foundation, because when I got into music, Facebook had barely just came out. Like MySpace was really cool because you could have your songs on there and you could put your own music up independently. And then Facebook came. So I came in a time where like you still really had to be good at what you did. Like when we first started recording in the studio, it was like I had to play the whole song the whole way through. Like we were cutting corners, okay, punching in. Like I had to learn how to cut a record, like how people cut records back in the day in big studios, and that just laid this foundation that I got, that you know, I won't half-ass anything when it comes to music, because I have a solid foundation, and I know how good music can be when you have everything going in the right direction, when all cylinders are firing, you know. But that's just kind of like the quick summary of how things went down musically from, you know, as a kid, you know, fast forward to now and this new album that I got.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because you know you mentioned, you know, your dad, you know, he liked R&B, your uncles and some of your family like funk, and then you grew up in the 90s and 2000s, right? So you know back then in the 90s you had Tupac, you had Wu-Tang, Biggie, 2000s Nelly, you had Lil Jon and all of these artists. You know, it seems like
and then Houston, music from Texas exploded. Who is Mike Jones? Who is you know, Mike Jones? You know what I mean? Like that shit was hot, man. And I was growing up through all that. I was in my early 20s while that was all coming out, you know, and like that shit was popping, bro. The early 2000s too. Like once when I graduated from college, man, I was living down in San Diego by San Diego State University with my friends that were going to school there. And I was working and had like a job and everything, but it was like, wow, because when I went to college, man, I wasn't on that whole I get to enjoy myself experience, man. I was like, I had to work, I had to get shit done, I had to go to school. I was doing like so much just to graduate. You know, people were there like as if it's just the time of their lives. And I'm like, man, like, I mean, at a certain point when I was going to school, I had class at the junior college, I had class at the university, I was interning at a law firm, I was waiting tables, and I was tutoring kids. And like the only time I ever had a day off is if I called out sick, man. And like not everybody had that luxury. So when I moved down to San Diego, I was like, oh shit, I'm working, I'm making money. Like, man, let me do college different this time. Like, let me experience it, you know, of all places down in San Diego. And if I wanted to move to San Diego, this me stepping out of being an introvert, you know, and out of my shell would have never came this music career. I think that was the biggest thing, was when I moved down to San Diego, because I was exposed to something so different. And seeing my friend do it, like I'm still friends with this guy to this day, and seeing him do it, it was just like, if I would have never went down to San Diego, it wouldn't have happened. I don't know how my life would have turned out. Like I was couch surfing back then.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because you mentioned you're Latino, and like I'm curious. Did you feel like you had obviously you've been able to create success for yourself, but early on, did you find it that you had trouble, with people respect you, not just because of the surfing part, but being a Latino in a different genre? Because most people, when they think of Latino, they either think of rap or Latin music.
Yeah.
You don't really see, I mean, reggae to a certain degree as well. For you doing funk and reggae stuff, did you have a hard time with people accepting you as an artist, or do you think because you were outside the box that it made it a lot easier for you to capture other people's attention?
I think the best of both worlds, man, because like the reggae scene that I was trying to break into, believe it or not, like a lot of the big bands that are touring and acts, I mean, they're white.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they have their community of their reggae community. And, I did get some blowback. I won't say from who, but I did get some blowback, or felt like where I got kind of dissed at certain times. Just like, wait a minute, y'all promoting the white boy, but like, y'all can't show me no love. And it wasn't like I was begging, but it was just like, wait a minute, this is opposite. And of all things, this is reggae music about love and unity. Like, how are you guys keeping the whole primary basis of reggae is love and unity and end suffering and rebel against the crazy shit, and it was just like why y'all, this is reggae music. It's reggae. And it was such a it's such a tight knit people that they had. Like, it was like those doors were shut. And that's why I said I was going for that elevation. I was trying to get on those big reggae festivals. I was trying to do stuff as a reggae artist, but those doors were never going to open. And thankfully, when I did get DJ Tony G and Ronnie, it was like they flipped it into a whole different situation where it's like, man, I'm actually making a dance song. It's kind of sounds reggae, but we're making a dance song. Like, holy shit, I've always wanted to make dance songs. The only reason why I never did it sooner, because I didn't know how to play that stuff on guitar.
That makes
Or
sense.
I would have tried to be a funk guitarist. I would have tried to start a funk band, but like I said, nobody really taught me guitar. And since surfing, waves, beach, reggae music, I mean, that's what my life was for a certain amount of time, and that's why I was doing that reggae music. And then I came to the conclusion, like, man, I don't even listen to reggae music no more. Maybe some Steel Pulse, some Bob Marley, something. But why am I doing reggae music if I don't listen to reggae no more? And being outside the box, I feel like what I'm providing now is outside the box, because I'm not out here cursing in my songs, wilding out. I'm not out here putting songs on about the streets. I'm not out here talking about a life I've never lived. I'm talking about songs that are having a good time. Like, I put out the song "Gotta Feel It in Your Spirit." That was like my gospel song. Like, that came. My wife and I wrote that song together, and it was like, I actually put out a song about God. Like, wow, like. So you never know who's listening.
Yeah.
You never know who's listening. And if somebody's listening to my music, I want them on the other end, not listening to something negative, not listening to something that's going to bring them down, not something that's going to motivate them to want to do something stupid because they hear it in lyrics by artists, and hopefully they're going to be inspired.
Yeah.
And wow, like, I'm just doing it different. I'm not hoeing myself out to the point where nobody knows who I really am. I'm just being myself, and whether I've had a couple of shows where nobody showed up, or I'm performing for the staff, and then I've had shows where we're rocking capacity at the Whiskey A Go Go with Afro Man. You can't measure your success by one bad thing or something, but music is something that's supposed to unify people, man, and I don't want to contribute to the negativity that music already is. There's enough negativity in music out there already. I don't want to be the one that contributes to any more of that. That's why I'm so proud of this album. I don't need to use an F-bomb. I don't need to call a woman a hoe or stuff like that to make the song cool. Like gentleman type stuff. Gentleman, grown man, grown folk music, stuff that you would throw on with your girl, stuff you throw on when you go on a cruise, you're going on a cruise down the beach, something like that, something like that you'll remember. Like that's why maybe it was so good that I was put on those kind of great records back then in music, El Chicano and all these great bands, because that music lived on, and I'm hoping I'm creating something now that's going to live on way beyond my existence on this earth, man. And if the reason why so many go after it and fail is because they're looking for that validation on social media that what they're doing is right, when they just, trying to validate, when they should be just trying to validate themselves every time they look in the mirror, and not using social media, how many likes, how many comments, how much, all that stuff, man, how many views you got. Like, it is, to me, the fact that now that's important when it comes to music. You don't need to really be a great artist anymore. You could, as long as you got a big following, your following is more important than the artistry anymore.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because you mentioned something about being who you are. You want people to know who you are behind your music. And one of the things that struck out to me was, you all about the good vibes and people having fun, whether you're on a cruise, taking a road trip, they listen to you. But you also, you use your music to spread awareness, talk about the important subjects. For
Yeah,
you, is that hard? Not in the sense that it's hard for you to convey emotions in your music, but we're living in a society now where, to be quite frank, especially the popular songs, it's not exactly talking about church. It deals with a lot of street activity and stuff. For you, how important is it to not only have good music, but have a message like you talking about? I know you lost a few people to suicide and mental
yeah.
health awareness and stuff like that. Like, why is that so important to you to not only use your music, but your platform to use to spread awareness on those situations?
Because you never know, just that one person just needs to hear that one thing, man, that changes their whole mindset. Or like when it comes to suicide prevention, man, a lot of those people don't reach out for help, or a lot of those people, you don't know that they're hurting. A lot of people hold it inside till it's too late, man. I had another friend of mine pass away a couple of weeks ago, man. And, it's like, I talked to my dad about it. I was like, when does this shit end? Like, when does it end? These are good people, good, solid people. And whether they was a heat of the moment or mistake, or they made that choice and they're not coming back, and they leave behind families. And with the mental health thing, man, I've been through the depths of hell with my mental health, man, and music went along the ride of it. Like in 2009, when I really lost my mind, man, when I had just signed a record deal, I'm working with Ronnie, like I had so many things in place. Like right now, you know how long it took for me to get from that, when I had my chance, over you, how you said over 10 years, just to get to this point now, man, interviewing with you. Like, I had to overcome all that shit. And then when you're misdiagnosed and they don't know what's really wrong with you, and you're taking one medication that's supposed to be working for something, but you got some, like, it was a 9-year process of like trial and error, and like being at my worst, trying to figure out shit, trying to get everything right. And, you know, if I could be a voice to it, maybe it doesn't need to go that far for certain people, and give it a voice, make it not so tough to talk about. And back in '09, when that stuff happened to me, it wasn't even about mental health matters and all these things. And it was still a quiet thing, where it was like, they didn't even call it mental. It was called, they called it mental illness. Now it's about mental health, and mental health matters. But back then it was still called mental illness, man. And some of these mental hospitals that I went to is not the spot you want to be at.
Yeah.
And, just myself experiencing it, man, you know, it takes someone to be vulnerable enough to speak on some of the stuff they went through, because you never know who's listening. You never know not only who it's going to affect, you never know who it's going to trigger and be like, damn, this fool's talking exactly about what I feel, or what exactly I deal with. And then they might pull me aside, like, dude, like, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not a millionaire. I believe I have a really great life. I'm not millions of dollars. I believe I do really have a great life, but what makes it even better is when I could do that stuff, man. Beyond the music, beyond cut records, beyond marketing and social media and all that, man. Those encounters, they'll remember that, and they'll be like, "Damn, like this would." I mean, this would like they hear me. This guy was battling 9 years to get his money. Like I could have just gave up. Like a lot of these good fallen men that did. And now that God, I feel like God put me in this position where I need to speak on it because I'm, I give this is how I look. But you don't know what's going on in here, So when people can see an average person going through something, I mean, they can relate to it, you know.
Yeah.
When you hear about it on the news or TV about a celebrity and they just went crazy, like people are automatically coming to judgment without realizing like how many other people besides what you just see on TV are really actually struggling. And it's not just the homeless population. I mean, that's why a lot of people turn to addiction. It's because of mental health, because that's the only way they can self-medicate with it. I mean, dude, I drank for a period of time. I mean, I was drinking really heavily, and it took me to finally realize, like, man, I am not using this as a coping mechanism anymore. I'm using this as self-medicating because I'm over here feeling sorry for myself. And the only time I ever feel any bit of good is when I start drinking. But then by the time I'm all the way down this night of drinking, I'm feeling like crap already again, man. And I just want to be able to relate to people that I've been through stuff that I'm sure they've probably been through, and to make it relatable and make it easy to talk about, because a lot of people don't speak on this stuff, man. They won't. I mean, I had been battling before 2009. I had been battling for like 5, 6 years already with bipolar, not even knowing anything was wrong. But how the hell do I just come up and say, hey, this is happening without someone looking at me like, you're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
When you just want to make sure you're just trying to double check, is this reality right now? Am I tripping or whatever? But some people don't know how to react to that, man. And we need more people like me in the world having a little bit more compassion, especially with people with mental health, man, because a lot of people didn't choose to be that way. I didn't ask to be bipolar. I didn't choose to be this way. It's just what happened. And
Yeah.
and when I stopped feeling, and especially too when I stopped feeling like a victim, when I stopped having that victim mentality, like why did this happen to me? Because I was really upset. Because I mean, I was up here, bro. Everything was set up, the music, empty, all the full train was running full steam ahead, and then boom, I'm in a mental hospital. Like it was just, and now, I say this often, when I ask God, like, why did you do this? Like, why did I have to go through all this? Like, I wasn't doing anybody dirty when that happened to me. I wasn't doing like I didn't feel like my life was justifiable to feel this consequence that I end up having a mental health issues. And it was like God was like, man, what story would have you have told then? Now you have a better story to tell.
Right.
And so music always went hand in hand, man. And when I got the first opportunity to speak publicly about it, it was for NAMI. It was we had just came from the desert actually recording. This is before I moved out here, and they were having an event, and they asked me if I'd come play guitar and speak. And it was one of the first times speaking. And that first time, the people that came up to me afterwards, you don't understand, my brother, I got an uncle. Like, dang, like you're one of the first people I ever hear talk about it that experience that has experienced it. Not just some professional that studied it, but somebody that's experienced it. I can relate to you. And that stuff, man, that stuff's powerful, because if I didn't speak on it, that's still something that person's holding in, or at least thinking nobody understands what they're going through.
Yeah. So you've been able to, work with a lot of Grammy nominated, Grammy award winning producers, artists, well respected pioneers in the industry. Do you feel like you have to balance not just making music that is good to you and that people can relate to, but also balancing the music industry in itself, where they only care about the hits, the music that will make money? Like, do you feel like you have to balance that, or for you, is it, just something that you have to do no matter what you're doing, whether you're working on a hit for that's going to be on the radio or something on your album that is personal to you? Do you approach it the same, or do you kind of have to balance it when you're working with other people?
Well, I'll tell you, like, before I got my mental health stabilized, I would let people know that I would work with in the studio, like who was going to be the engineer in the studio. Like, hey, can I get on a phone call with this person before, And I was pretty, because back then I still had weird vibes. Like I wasn't on the right meds. I was still like everything was some kind of conspiracy, and this led to this, and boom, boom, boom. And it was just like I wanted to make sure I could feel comfortable around people in the studio, because after having a psychosis episode while I was in the recording studio really freaked me out about that recording studio. Like, man, I don't know if I could ever step foot in this place again, because of the memories, the visions, and so it was something that I would always bring up with the people that I work with. Like, hey, I get this mental health thing. I just want to make sure we're good. I'm not saying I'm gonna trip on you or anything like that, but just to make sure that we're good, so we can work in an easy environment together, so there's no weird vibes. So I was always open about it, and to balance it, man. Like, to be honest with you, like, I'm gonna just keep pushing this independent thing as long as I can. If somebody's got a great independent record label and they see that they could push what I got going even further, maybe. But for a major label, I mean, because they can shelve your record anytime and they're in control when they release your records. And I know a couple of people that got signed record label and they still haven't put a project out, and they've been signed for 2 years. Sometimes you think like, man, did they just sign the deal so the record label could silence them? Like, I like having control over everything, and to be able to sign a contract and no, man, the music, these timepieces, everything that I've done, man, this is something that like I want to keep in my family, like for years, royalties coming in, and have this huge catalog, man. So, somebody eventually will want, if my family needs it or something's going to take care of my kids, grandkids, and down the line, like, and I'm gone, they're like, man, we could sell dad's, catalog for such and such, man. Boom. I took care of the generations afterward and did my work, man, because that's what it is at this point now. It's about having a really great catalog that you just need one great song where all of a sudden your catalog becomes important. And a lot of people are making independent moves. You don't necessarily need to go down the major label way anymore, because it's when you get a deal, you get an advance, and the advance, I mean, they want to recoup that. The way it works is like, I break the music business simple as this. You want to be in the music business and you want to have a career, make a hit record. Make a hit record that is so good that you're always on tour performing that record, because that's going to be your only income after the record's out, because we're not selling CDs anymore unless you're selling. You want to. That's why they should put together a tour. Who's touring? New Edition. Who's coming back? New Edition.
They got the Millennium Tour too, with B2K, Omarion, and all of them.
Right. That's the goal, man. That's the goal, because then you can still get paid and make a living, because you can't depend on your product making the money that it would like it did in the past. And another way is like, get brand partnerships. If somebody wants to partner with certain people that have their own businesses, and I partner, or I'll create content for them and stuff like that. And now really, when this day and age, like I just actually edited and made my first music video in 4 days. I had never worked with Final Cut. I had footage of all over where I live out here in the Coachella Valley. And my whole plan was, man, I hope I can get all the footage together and make a video out of it. My buddy said, download Final Cut. Spent a day. I got frustrated. When I finally figured out how to navigate it, I was like, boom. A couple days later, video's done. I sat there like, holy shit, I just made the music video. Because I believe now we need to live in a world where you have to have a lot of skill sets. Manual labor is always going to be manual labor, but with AI, you have to be on top of all your skills. And like, if you don't catch up, you're gonna fall behind because there's not going to be that many jobs left. Like, and there can only be so many people doing Uber and all that stuff where it's, you know, over flooded with people. And so boom, like now anyone, hey, I like your video. Can you do my video? Of course, I'll shoot your video. I'm like opening up the gates to running social media marketing, video production, uh, social media content creation, filming videos for businesses. Because if you don't, man, I mean, either somebody else is making that money, and I already tried the 9 to 5 route. I worked a 9 to 5 job for 5 months, and it was cool, and I dug it, but not being in control of my paycheck every week and knowing that that's going to be my paycheck regardless of how hard I work, it really is like, man, I got to really go all in on myself and because I prayed about it. God, what can I do to be full-time in music? So I'm getting all these different ideas where I could be working full-time in music, not necessarily just as an artist. And I'm hoping the goal is when I drop my album next year, there's enough buzz off the singles. I want to make a video for every single track that's on that album and put it out. And by then, album does good, I'll drop who knows how much money marketing the album on social media and get ads and doing all that stuff, because that's really important as an artist. You have to be marketing, or nobody's going to hear your stuff. And that's where it's at right now, man. Trying to just level up all my skill sets, because at 44 years old, I could still be complaining, oh, I got in when MySpace, why didn't they just keep MySpace? It was such a good platform. I could have that mentality, man. You know what I mean? And I choose not to. I choose not to be one of those old rock stars that are mad about the way the music industry is. It's like, you either evolve or you get out, or it would eventually push you out because you can't afford it anymore. Because it's an expensive business to be in, is music, especially as an artist. That's why I wanted to learn how to do the videos so I could start doing my own videos, because that's saving myself $1,000 every release.
Yeah, we live in a good generation as artists, because now, like you said, you know, you have Soulja Boy, I think G Herbo, and a couple of the major artists we see now. A lot of them are independent, and I do think, you know, labels are always going to be important, but I think now with social media, streaming platforms, and all ways to make money on social media with brand partnerships, it's becoming increasingly easier to fund and have a career outside of a record label, unless you want the big push from them, you know. So
just mainly because you want to be world famous, man.
Yeah,
because they'll make you famous. They got the money to make you famous, you know. But then they're telling you what songs you got to sing. You know what I mean? Maybe you'll get one on the album. You know, we'll think about it. You know, and I just don't want to play that game. Like, I've been in contracts with people before. I've had to fight my way to get out of contracts. Like, you know, signing contracts is no joke. You sign a contract, I mean, your name's on that paper, and they can hold you regardless if it was a mistake or not. Like, you signed it. And, you know, I had to learn the hard way a couple of deals that I got into where, you know, it was like I literally was like, man, I think I'm gonna have to go to war with this guy, because this guy's getting really crazy because I want out of my contract. And you know, it's like, it's back. It was 2009. We performed in Fullerton, California, at the Slide Bar for the Warped Tour Battle of the Bands, and we placed third. And I met a woman. Her name is Marianne. And she used to do promo work for Cypress Hill, and she told me right out the gate, she's like, I think you're talented. I think what you're doing is something good. This is me when I was playing guitar, because I was doing different kind of reggae, like my own style thing. But she said, in this business, you got to have thick skin, because if you don't, you'll get run out of town really quick.
Yeah.
And so it's made me not paranoid, but just really skeptical about what somebody can do for me beyond, unless they're bringing more. Unless, to me, for me, it's like, I would rather bring on an investor on my label and really push it even forward than want to sign to a label. I'd rather share my company with somebody that has the funds or the capital to really take it to where it needs to be. That would be the only kind of thing I would do. Major label stuff, it's not worth it, because it's a debt. You're signing a contract, right? You're in debt right off the bat. And a lot of people fight years just to get their records back where they can own them, where the label still owns the masters. And yeah, it's not worth it to me, man.
Yeah,
My
it's
music
not.
means too much to me. My music means too much to me, you know?
I'm glad you said that. It's not worth it because this part of the show is worth it. Now you might be referring to be thinking, what am I talking about? Well, Dylan, you know everybody, whether you're in the music industry, myself, entertainment, there's a rite of passage. There's something you have to do in order to join the club. And this show, we have something we call the hot seat. So
Okay.
Dylan, we talked
What
about
we got?
music. Yeah, we talked about music, but I want to put you in the hot seat and talk about some of the best artists from the 2000s because I feel like at some point, even as a music artist, we all got to make a choice. So the way how the show goes is I'm going to give you two names, and you don't have to. You could just say the name. You could give a short description of why you're choosing them, or you don't have to say none at all and just pick a name. But I'm gonna give
Okay.
you two names, and you choose which one
How many
you
questions we
prefer.
got? How many questions we got?
We got a couple. We got a
Okay,
couple.
let's do it, man. I'm excited.
I'm cheating here a little bit because I know you're Latino, so I'm gonna throw this in there first. Flo Rida or Pitbull?
Pitbull.
That's fair. All right, so we got 50 Cent or Jay Z.
Now I listen to more Jay-Z.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's throw women in here. Missy Elliott or Beyonce.
Missy Elliott all day.
Missy Elliott or Nicki Minaj.
Missy Elliott.
Ooh, okay. All right, we're talking. All right, Pharrell Williams or Kanye West.
Pharrell.
Let's do Nelly or Mike Jones.
Mike Jones, baby. I had to, man, because Mike Jones, that was just so original what he did. He had the t-shirt say who was Mike Jones, and that was just the biggest marketing thing in the world that I seen. That was hot, man. You had the Slim Thug, Paul Wall. There's a lot of great art. Man, a lot of great artists came out of Millionaire, or Chameleonaire came out of Houston. A lot of those artists, man, that was a really breakthrough time for Texas, man. Bun
Yeah,
B, UGK. Man.
Mike Jones. For me, so a lot of these, obviously, some of these artists transcended the 2000s, but like, I have an older brother who's 14 years older than me. So when I was a kid, he used to play all of these Bone Crusher, Mike Jones, a 50 Cent G Unit, all the 90s and 2000 rappers. And Mike Jones don't get the credit he deserves because I remember being a kid, like at least I think it was about 10 to 15 when I was hearing him, and he had some good classics. But as we talk about the music industry, unless you not turn out them hits, back then it was a little harder to be an independent rapper and still be in the radio. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's continue this. How about Sean Paul? Or I'm trying to think, who can you compare Sean Paul to? All right, so let's do this. Sean Paul or Pitbull?
Pitbull, because I never bought a Sean Paul album, but I did buy a Pitbull album.
That's fair. Okay. Eminem or Jay-Z?
Eminem, because it was just so fucking crazy.
Okay.
It was so crazy when all that music came out. I was like, dude, we were listening to that. And then you think back, like, man, we were listening to some crazy lyrics and we didn't even realize what we were listening to, man.
Yeah. it's as I got older, it's crazy to hear the songs now from back then because a lot of the stuff they talk about, it goes over your head until you actually start hearing what we're talking about. But I still like it though. I still like it. All right, I got a few more for you. We're gonna do E40 or Little John.
That's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
I would go with Little John.
Okay. The Brat or Queen Latifah?
So funkified. Oh man, but I would have to go with Queen Latifah, man, because she had those records. We had my dad had the cassette, man. She had that song, UNITY, that's a unity. She had that record, man. She's a full-on actress. She's in Barbershop. She's in that one movie with Common, Just Right. And then she did the soul track that I even go to look for sometimes just when I'm in the mood, when she did the track with Tony Bennett, and then she did that soulful album too, man. 'Cause she could sing too. She's just like a dynafied, like certified, I mean, entertainment person, man. Artist, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, artist. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I could end it there, but these two names I'm about to mention, even though they're not technically 2000s, their icon status in hip hop will never be touched, in my opinion. So I gotta throw these two at you for the final one: Tupac or Notorious B.I.G.
I liked them both equally. I liked them both equally. But and I did not own Hypnotized. I did have Tupac's album when he first came out on Death Row, the double album, and then I had the second, the second, which was the last CD by Notorious B.I.G. That was crazy, man, because like that was in high school. Like I was in freshman, sophomore in high school when that stuff was going on, and some people like Biggie, some people like Tupac, and that's just how it was, man. We weren't. I mean, what that was like when I went to I went to two high schools growing up. I went to a high school that was predominantly Latino and Black, and then there was the white boys that lived by the beach, and I hung around with the athletes, a lot of athletes. I hung around with a lot of Black dudes, a lot of still friends to this day because I played football. But then I left football and I just played baseball. But then when I was getting screwed around my junior year, I transferred high schools to the high school on the other side of town, which was actually, yeah, on the other side. My house was kind of in the middle. I had to transfer to go to the one high school. And then I was like, man, I'm going back to the high school I should have went to. And that's when I started hanging out with white boys from Camarillo, man, and they were partying, and then they had the boogie boarding magazines, and I saw the boogie. I said, man, I want to start doing that, and switching high schools is what was kind of changed everything because I went to school with a lot of people in elementary school at that high school. So it was like reuniting with like people that I grew up with, and I hung out with it was completely different because at the first high school, I mean, blacks and Mexicans, there was a big race war going on at that time in Oxnard where I lived, and it spilled over into high school where blacks and Mexicans were fighting every day. And so when I switched high school, I mean, man, it was just like, bro, it was so stressful at the other high school because you never knew what was going to pop off. And then I go to this high school, I mean, motherfuckers just getting all messed up at like they're drinking while they're at school. Like what? And that's what changed everything because I had friends that were in a band and like my other buddy was playing guitar and that was kind of like, man, I want to do that someday. But switching high school was really, man, I never really thought about it. That was the pivot point because that's what it opened my eyes to how much bigger the world was outside of sports and race wars. And, that was, like we played sports, but all that drama was going on. And I switched high schools like, man, nobody's really even beefing. Like what? The girls are fighting over a boyfriend. They ain't fighting over gang turf. It was just so different where it changed my whole life. That's when I started looking into which college I was going to go to, where I was going to do. And that was really the pivotal point, man. And when I switched high schools, I wasn't listening to Tupac and Biggie anymore, man. I was listening to like Blink 182 and like punk rock music, man.
I forgot about that band. Oh my, Blink 192. Wow, I haven't heard that since high school. So we had a good conversation so far, and I think as artists, we all have goals. And like you said, when you change high schools, it made you realize the world's a bigger place than when we think, and we expand our horizons when we're able to change certain things. So for you, you've been able to work with people that others wish they had the chance to. I'm sure there's people you didn't get the chance to work with yet, but you would love to. So for you, as artists, we dream and we think about the future, not so much the past. I won't say 10 years because 10 years is a long time as an artist to kind of figure out what you want. But 3 to 5 years from now, I know you say you're working on your album coming out next year, but what are some things you want to get done? Whether it's maybe headlining the Super Bowl or maybe working with Lil Jon or somebody. Like, is there anything you want to get done in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I'm hoping. I submitted my application to perform at South by Southwest for the music festival in Austin. So I'm waiting to hear back on that. They'll give the final word. I think the final word is like December 10th when they'll let us know who all got. I kind of applied late. But honestly, man, is like to perform at Coachella out here where I live,
Yeah,
perform at the Coachella Festival. That's always like when people would ask, what's the end goal? Coachella, right? You're on Coachella. And I kind of believe like the artists that are really going to start making noise for themselves, it happens at South by Southwest in Austin at that festival, because a lot of people that are on that festival are and getting added on to, some of their opening acts at Coachella, or at least making a name for themselves. And I'm hoping the album would be coming out around the time when South by Southwest is happening. And I'm really hoping that it's one of those this album that I did. It's one of those projects where I feel like I gave everything I did. Like I can like I'm constantly always got to write, got to be creative. But it was like, wow, like this is like, whoa, this is like done. And I'm hoping I'm on tour too, man. At least performing at different spots throughout the country on the weekends at nightclubs or something, or even. There's a chance I might not even be living in the United States. I might move to one of the countries where I have support, like in Italy, in Spain, in Argentina also. And, some of my songs have really blown up overseas more than in the United States. And I could see myself in 5 years living in another country performing every weekend, man, because people outside of the United States, man, and especially like people that speak Spanish and they they love their music.
yeah,
I'm hoping I get the call, man. Hey, someone calling me in Spanish. Can we talk to you? We want to get you booked out here in Argentina. We got like 3 places that we could sell out. Like boom, let's do it. Stuff like that. And also on the publishing side of music, I'm hoping that I finally get across that bridge where I've already had songs signed to publishing catalogs where they're actively pitching the songs for TV and film. But I want to be the publishing catalog. That's why I'm really growing my catalog as well, so I can build relationships with music supervisors and people in TV and film that make those decisions, where they're contacting me directly, like, hey, we need a song, this and this, can you get it done? And this album really showed that I could really expand and not just do funk and soul music. There's a little bit of like 80s synth wave in the album. There's a song called Actions Matter, which is basically like, dude, don't try to take me accountable when you can't even be accountable for yourself. It's just like different. I really expanded myself. I wanted this album to tell a story. And also on top of that, 5 years from now, the publishing, possibly living in another country, and hopefully I have 2 more albums done that are out before then too, that I have enough to talk about. That might, you
yeah.
gotta have a lot to talk about when you want to do an album. You know what I mean? You gotta have a lot to talk about. You gotta write a lot of
True.
stuff.
Especially if it ain't P. Diddy, but
Oh, man.
Dylan, this has been a delightful conversation. I think a lot of times when people hear when you're successful in the industry or you're in the pursuit to greatness, I think people often forget the people who have the messages, right? Because oftentimes I feel like the ones that people care about, the ones that get the jewelry on, get the bling on. They have a certain persona to them. You bring something different. You bring meaning and life into your music, and I think we need that in this society where every day someone's getting killed. A lot of people, they're struggling to pay their bills. Life is really sucking right now for a lot of people, and I think someone like you who not only talks about the hard subjects in our society that are now starting to become normalized to talk about, but doing it on a bigger scale than opposed to just talking with your buddies on the couch. I think that is what's important. And I hope, whether when people leave this conversation, they leave with an opinion different than when they thought of you before it started. So, Dylan, I usually say a helping hand is a better hand, and that's not just a way of life. That's not just a slogan. That's a way of life. And I'll end it. But I'm gonna let you leave with the last comments, the last word. So I'll give you the floor.
Uh, thank you guys for tuning in. One thing that's always stuck with me is don't do something till you get it right. Do it until you can't get it wrong. And another thing that I heard Les Brown say that really is really I think the most important thing in life. It's better to be prepared to not have an opportunity to have an opportunity and not be prepared. And these are some of the things that I try to live by every day. It's life isn't easy for anybody, and we got to have a little bit more compassion for people. I believe that, not just judging a book by its cover when you see somebody homeless on the street or somebody asking for money, or, we could all be that person, and another one is, I don't judge people because I know how it feels to be at my lowest. And, sometimes people just need a helping hand. I remember the times when I didn't have nowhere to sleep and I called all my roster on my phone, family included. And it was like, figure it out, and I never understood how even family could be like that with each other. But it's really softened my heart to not be that way. And if you see somebody struggling, instead of just judging or criticizing, why don't you be a solution to the problem? Everyone talks about problems, everyone grifts and complains, but nobody ever talks about the solutions.
Yeah.
They just like complaining, and I'm a solution oriented person. I try to find a solution when there's something wrong right off the bat. What's the solution? Why complain about it? Why whine about it? Why cry about it? Why complain? Why complain about why is the world like this, Lord? No, just take care of it. And you do stuff like that and you live by that motto. It better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than have an opportunity and not be prepared. You always make sure you're ready for whatever you got coming at you. Dylan Garcia. Amen.